Okay, this is a topic that comes up often.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. What to do when your child hits you? This particular topic we're going to just assume we're talking about younger children for this. If there is an issue going on with an older child hitting you,
Or a teenager.
we need to take a whole different approach, and your safety is utmost important. But with young children, sometimes physical aggression is just kind of part of the developmental growth of this child.
I think that's important to acknowledge because expecting kids to behave like an adult is an unrealistic expectation. So that's something you can adjust.
Now, just because it's part of their typical development doesn't mean that it's okay and we just ignore it. Let's talk about
we got to do something
what
about it.
What are we going to do about it?
Because it's not good for your child to be hitting you or anyone else for that matter. In fact, we've got 3 rules that we used in our family and that we use in our coaching groups with positive parents. And that is to respect yourself and others. That's rule number 1. Don't even have to go to the other 2 rules for this particular topic because that's the rule we're talking about. But there's also respect property and to respect authority.
Right.
So let's go to the respect rule for a minute. How are they going to learn that unless you teach it to them?
Right.
Obviously, your example is probably the most powerful teacher or teaching tool that you have. So let's start with the basic principle that you get to stay in control of your emotions.
It's tricky to stay calm, but you really need to stay calm even in the moment of the slap or whatever.
It's hard because in the moment you're going to feel an impulse to react. Maybe in the same way that your child just treated you. You want to hit him back. Please don't do this. Not only is it against the law in most countries, this is something that will teach your child the wrong responses. And so remaining emotionally calm is important, even if they're hitting you. This is easier with little kids, obviously. Can I just jump in because we acknowledged at the beginning that we're going to talk mostly about little kids. When older, bigger kids or teenagers are doing this, it's important to focus on what you control. Now, this is important for the little kids too. Focus on what you control. Sometimes the only thing that you really control is your own reaction to this thing, especially if you can't stop them from hitting you in the first place and they actually connect. Then you've got a moment of time where you get to choose your reaction to that. So we're encouraging you to stay calm in that moment, and we'll give you some tools to follow up on it, but that's an important starting place.
When working with a young child, one of the most important thing for you to do is the proximity. Now, obviously, if they've hit you, they're close. Sometimes you just have to physically stop the behavior.
Wait, it's okay to restrain a child?
Yeah, for these young kids on level 1, go ahead and restrain them. The consequence can sometimes wait for a minute. You've got to get the behavior in control right away. And that's true if they're hurting another child as
This
well.
becomes part of the consequence, but you make an important point here, Vicki. Some consequences can wait. And it's more important to do what's right than to do what you feel impelled to do. You don't want to follow your impulses here. You want to follow your good judgment as a parent. So the restraining needs to be done in a way that keeps the child safe, obviously, but physically stops them from hitting. And then you can implement other consequences later on based on their stage of moral development so that they learn the cost of that behavior. As we're dealing with this particular behavior, I think it's important, Vicki, that we acknowledge here.
Right.
This is the kind of thing that you have to intervene and you have to do it in a timely way. And it's okay for you as a parent to be stern, and I'll tell you what that means in just a minute, to be assertive. Okay, I'm not advocating for you to be mean or to yell, but you will change your voice in a way that gets the attention of your child, and it can be very stern and assertive. Example, we've got a little Labradoodle that we're training, and this little puppy doesn't know what's right or wrong. She's just having fun, right? And sometimes she'll do something that's destructive. Right. She'll chew on the furniture or she'll do something that's inappropriate. And so our trainer told us to approach her by saying,
And it just gets her attention right away.
And It startled me the first time. It was, And she says that instead of no because it's easier for her voice to say.
Right.
But it could be a sharp no. Okay, and you get a very serious, stern look on your face. Your kids might accuse you of yelling because your voice just changed. But this is under control. It's stern, it's assertive, and it's clear. No.
And then you're going to label the behavior, not the child. The
Beautiful.
behavior that was out of compliance, that was not acceptable.
Right.
That is not okay. That
Beautiful.
hitting is not okay.
Hitting, that behavior. You're not calling the child, you're bad, you're wrong. No. Don't personalize this. Label the behavior, not the child. And be stern and be clear.
One of the things I love about labeling this behavior and then saying that is not allowed, I think it's important to help them see that hurting you, me, the person, is not allowed, nor is hurting themselves. I had a little girl who was involved with some self-harm. And so every time she did that, we said, no, nobody is allowed to hurt. And we said her little name.
Yeah.
So we let them know that behavior is what we're curbing. It had no judgment about her. It's that behavior is not allowed.
And you added another important point. I won't let you hurt me or your brother or whatever. Mm-hmm. You're intervening as a parent. That's not appropriate. I won't let you hit me. I won't let you hurt your sister. Mm-hmm. And that clear communication is going to help with the discipline. Now we're going to tie it to some appropriate consequences.
Okay, let's take those on.
And appropriate consequences typically for younger children have to do with isolation, typically in a timeout kind of a setting. You have to be able to enforce that. Timeout is probably the best default consequence you can give to a child. But let's say that your child's getting a little older, they still haven't curbed the problem yet. I remember I was working with a 10-year-old. Okay, now by 10, they should be mastering the ability to keep those 3 rules. Respect yourself and others, respect property, cooperate, and obey. He was still really struggling with it, and he was hurting his mom and his sister by hitting them. And so we imposed a fine, and it was a heavy fine. We charged him $50 for hitting his sister.
Wow.
Okay, now does that seem like a lot?
Yeah, it seems big.
For a 10-year-old, that's a fortune. But we wanted to send a very clear message. And he got to work that off over the next week or so. It has to carry enough weight that they're going to feel it. Now, I'm not suggesting that you should charge them $50. What I am saying is let's open up our thinking a little bit and be creative and consult with your coach or with other parents. Let's come up with some ideas of things that will really send a clear message. And $50 is not that much when you consider that he could, within the next few years, be sent to a juvenile detention facility.
For physically assaulting people.
Okay, what would I rather do? Enforce a $50 fine right now with my child or wait and let the state do that in a couple of years? We want them to learn it now. It's cheaper now.
One of the principles you have the opportunity to introduce is empathy. When a child does hit you, we can kind of help them start to understand how it makes somebody else feels. I think one of the things that's new for kids to learn is how do my actions affect somebody else.
Right.
And so you have the opportunity to at least introduce that here. I like the idea of helping kids see how somebody else feels and what might have to happen to help them feel better, rather than saying, go apologize. Sometimes help them see, what's the next thing that we could do to help them feel better or to fix this.
And the apology often, if you demand an apology, it's usually not very sincere.
Every parent's had that.
Sorry!
Yeah, we've all had that one many times.
The huffy one.
Yeah, with the eye roll.
Are they really? I'm not feeling it.
So helping them gain some empathy for the other person in the interaction is one way to help them get to the point where they're ready for an apology of their own volition.
Right. And this also moves them along in their moral development because empathy is part of a stage 3 level of development. And so we're inviting them to come up from that lower stage where they were hitting. Obviously, there's a lot to track as a parent, and that's why we're creating all of these resources for you here on the channel. and also in our coaching groups and in the programs that we're offering. If you want to learn more about that, would you please take a moment, go to drpauljenkins.com/breakthrough call, and that will get you in with one of our certified coaches. They can tell you all about the resources that are available to you.